people like me. You need people like me so you can point your f***ing fingers and say, that's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy.
Welcome to the motherfucking relay. We're covering today's top boxing news.
Okay, we'll start with this. Unbeaten up-and-comer in the women's super flyweight division, Jasmine Par, has been added to the Nikita Zoo show.
It's going down tomorrow or today, depending on where in the world you are.
The young Australian-based fighter that comes from a varied combat background, a bit of Muay Thai, a bit of kickboxing, and of course, boxing, the young daughter of what is combat sports royalty in John Wayne Parr, former kickboxer. You may have heard of him.
He's got a daughter. She's a fighter.
And she's going to be fighting on the undercard of Nikita Zoo's next fight, what is a No Limit promotion. No Limit, who also happens to promote Nikita Zoo's brother, Tim Zoo.
Jasmine's fighting on his undercard.
Jasmine, who sports a professional record of 4 wins with no losses, no draws, no recorded knockouts, not yet. We'll see if she can change that. Jasmine, who debuted as a professional in December of 2021, and she's fought about 4 times since then. Last in action in July of last year. She only fought once last year. She wasn't particularly busy. The saving grace is that she's very young. She's only 21. Campaigning in what is a very deep division, a deep weight class, super flyweight. She's going to be sharing the ring with veteran journeywoman Sarah Watt, who sports a professional record of 4 wins with 5 losses and 2 draws.
Sarah's got more fights than young Jasmine, though not more talent. She doesn't have a higher ceiling.
Jasmine Par should make it through this, and we'll see how she makes out. What really has my attention is the proliferation of unbeaten up-and-comers in this division like Jasmine Par, not even counting the 4 reigning champions at this weight. Irma Garcia of Mexico, who holds the IBF title. Ashley Gonzalez, also of Mexico, who's got the WBC. Mizuki Hiruta, who's got the WBO. And Clara Lescurat, who's got the WBA. Coincidentally, Clara is going to be boxing on the same show as Jasmine Par, opposite the ring, Lynn Sandstorm, which we talked about. I think she's going to keep her WBA title.
To see what I mean, this is a very deep division. The alphabet titles are split 4 ways between 4 fighters, 4 champions, and that's not even counting how many unbeaten up-and-comers there are at this weight.
Jasmine Par is just one among them. Yet another is America's own Adelaida Ruiz, Jasmine Artiga,
Philadelphia's own Liana Cruz,
Texas's own Virginia Fuchs.
It's a very deep division.
Emma Dolan and Shannon Ryan, both unbeaten up-and-comers that are set to be facing each other very soon. Not even counting more seasoned fighters like Taylor Robertson,
former champion Deborah Ana E. Lopez of Argentina, personal favorite of mine, Sulem Urbina, a friend to the channel.
This is a very deep weight class, a very deep division, with lots of talented unbeaten up-and-comers and some more seasoned fighters and champions. Jasmine Par is one among them, and she's still very much in the early stages of her career with only 4 professional fights at just 21 years old. So there's a lot more work needs doing and a lot more development that needs to happen. But this is a division that could fast heat up in the next 1 to 2 years, given the proliferation of good fighters within it.
Jasmine's got to take care of Sarah Watt.
I think that she can and will, though if she does, she shouldn't worry about alphabet titles, fighting for an alphabet title against a champion for a while. Remember, she's only 21. She doesn't need to rush into anything that she's not ready for. She's got a lot of time.
Use it.
Keep your eyes peeled for the ring return of Jasmine Par on the undercard of Nikita Zoo's next fight tomorrow.
Or today.
Men's super lightweight, technically welterweight news. Former welterweight champion Keith Thurman says no Pop Haney had no survival skills against Ryan Garcia, which isn't necessarily true. I mean, he did survive. He got his ass kicked. He definitely did. But he survived. He didn't get knocked out. Former unified WBA and WBC welterweight world champion Keith Thurman had been called out by Devin Haney and his team in the past, so it was no surprise when Thurman took to the internet once the upset occurred. Thurman, who recently saw his pay-per-view fight with Tim Tszyu fall through when he suffered an injury less than 2 weeks out from the fight, wrote, "Congrats, Ryan. No Pop Haney has no survival skills, no adjustments. He had time to pull it together tonight. Was not his night. Good fight, not fight of the year, like the commentators were hyping. Run it back, Ryan. Those pillow hands can't hurt you. Easy money."
Ouch.
Many felt Garcia was able to do the damage that he did because he did not respect Haney's power, while Haney has picked up knockout victories in nearly half of his fights at the world-class level. He hasn't actually had a knockout in years. I think the last one was way back there in 2019.
It's a byproduct of what he's been doing.
And what he's been doing is cutting a lot of weight to make 135, to make 140. This comes at the expenditure of your power and your punch resistance.
Say it all the time.
That's why I don't bellyache about it, because sooner or later, if you're still doing that, it'll backfire. And it seems to me like it backfired on young Devin Haney.
Some are calling it karma.
Garcia was more than willing to stand his ground to land his shots, and that led to Garcia dropping Haney 3 times, 3 officially, though it could have and should have been more than that in the fight, and the performance has caused some to question whether Haney's ceiling is at junior welterweight. I told Bill Haney last year, talking about his boy is ready for pay-per-view at 147, I said, your boy will get hurt at 147. He's being punished at 140 tonight, added Thurman via X.
And some are calling it karma.
Some are saying that given the amount of weight that Devin rehydrates to the night of a fight, at least in some people's opinions, it gives him an unfair advantage.
I feel like it's a karma thing, right? Because, listen, in my fight with Devin, you don't ever want to say nothing because I don't like to be a complainer and stuff like that. But with my fight with Devin, he came in big as shit, and it was rumors that he did IV drips and all that type of shit. I mean, I never did that stuff, but I know it's a lot of people that does that stuff, and it's really, in my contract, it's illegal. And then when we fought at, you're not supposed to come in that big, so that was illegal too. And now Ryan did the same thing that he did to me. Ryan did the same thing to him. So for me, I just think, bro, it's just all karma. That's all. That's what happens. And I never wanted to complain about it. I mean, I felt like this was gonna happen. Karma comes around for everybody. That's just how it is. You can't get away from karma. You do good, you do bad. Whatever it is, karma is gonna happen.
Some are calling it karma that came back to bite Devin Haney in the ass based on, all the weight stuff. I look at it as karma for a different reason. You see, I look at it as karma because Devin was allowed to skate with a victory over Vasyl Lomachenko that he didn't deserve. And there were a lot of people that were willing to endorse this lie, endorse this robbery, which then allowed Devin to move forward. And that led him here to where he is now.
To getting his ass kicked.
That if the right man would have won the fight in the Vasyl Lomachenko fight, maybe Devin runs it back with that guy. Maybe he wins. Maybe he loses. Maybe he gets better from it. But that's not what happened. What happened was you were given a victory you didn't deserve. A lot of people were willing to lie about it because of all of their black versus white politics.
I ain't got no hair on my tongue.
It was a robbery. Many of you knew it was a robbery, but you were willing to endorse it.
Because of skin politics.
He made off like a bandit. He didn't give Vasyl Lomachenko a rematch, so maybe it's karma that now he's the one who needs one.
And like Vasyl Lomachenko, he won't get it.
As Vasyl Lomachenko sat sobbing in his dressing room after the fight, feeling that he was robbed. He didn't get much sympathy from Team Haney or their supporters. Now it's Team Haney that's not getting much sympathy.
I call that karma.
Real game plan. Devin, you been trying to be Floyd for too long, man. I'ma say it. You got your bodyguards in the gym. Ain't nobody trying to step up to you in no gym, man. You running around with bodyguards all through the mall and whatnot, bro, portraying the image. I always hated that. I ain't knocking you. I'm just saying, bro, like, you trying to play a Floyd Mayweather when you're not nowhere near his level, bro. Like, and then it's like, are you trying to tack on to your abilities? That's my question. Or are you trying to just portray the image? There's a big difference. He did. He absolutely did. I gotta see more from Devin. Now is the time to make adjustments. When all the scrutiny is taking place, when you're getting badgered, when you got to deal for this for the next, until the next time you fight. And if it ain't a big name,
Two things come to mind as I see Andre Dirrell laying into Devin Haney, telling him what he really thinks. The timing of it all, that everybody waited up until Devin lost to say these things. I didn't wait until Devin lost to say that I think the Lomachenko fight was a robbery.
I've been saying that.
Not that that's what Andre Dirrell was talking about. No, Andre Dirrell was talking about how Devin is one of these young fighters who wants to liken himself to Floyd Mayweather. And it's very obvious. Quite nauseating, to be honest.
How many times and how many lives have I talked about how all these kids want to be carbon copies of Floyd Mayweather, and an old version of Floyd Mayweather, because when Floyd was their age, that's not how he fought.
When Floyd Mayweather was 25 years old, he was a lightning-fast puncher who was a fucking animal that went for the knockout. He wasn't playing it safe at 25. The version of Floyd that you're emulating is an old Floyd Mayweather towards the tail end of his career in his mid-30s. Here you have a guy in his mid-20s emulating a guy who's in his mid-30s with hand issues.
Can we stop cosplaying Floyd, please?
As many times as it's already been said in how many boxing forums, they want to be Money May without being Pretty Boy first.
You know what the reason for that is? It's because they can't be Pretty Boy.
There's only one Floyd, and you're just cosplaying him, an older version of him. There's a reason you saw so many fighters coming out with a Philly shell, so many defensively minded fighters, so many pure boxers, and just that minimalist's approach to boxing that was popularized by Floyd.
Even though he wasn't always that way.
These Floyd clones. What I liked about Devin was his ambition.
That even though I wasn't a fan of his style of fighting, at least he was willing to fight the fights. At least he was willing to travel, which is more than we can say for some other American-based fighters.
That bit of it, that I liked about him. But his style of fighting was never my cup of tea. Pure boxers in a very general sense, whether it's Devin Haney or Sky Nicholson, just that style of fighting.
It's the style I like the least.
But in the subsequent years that followed Floyd's departure from the sport, and that style of fighting, and those who likened that style to how Floyd used to fight,
talking it up,
as if that's the failsafe, it's not. And in the subsequent years that have followed Floyd's departure from the sport, that's what people are starting to realize, almost waking up from a haze.
Not exactly a skill that you're limited to boxing from the outside and pot-shotting while moving.
What that really accents is a limitation, not a skill, that you're limited to boxing from the outside because you're not that good on the inside. And that's what this weekend's fight exposed.
Now Devin's got to do some soul searching.
And I don't even know if he stays at 140 pounds, even though he's being allowed to keep his WBC title. He looked gray the day before the fight. He looked gaunt. Is he now struggling to make that weight too? In other news, a continuation to a story I talked about yesterday, both Andy Ruiz and Pitbull Cruz are to feature on August 3rd, Terence Crawford card that is being bankrolled by the Saudis. What is surprising is the sheer number of PBC fighters on what is supposed to be a matchroom show. Smaller venue, bigger card. Upon further review, those promoting Terence Crawford's August 3rd pursuit of a 4th division title have decided to make the venue more intimate than the massive LA Memorial Coliseum by shifting their focus next door to BMO Stadium. Officials with knowledge of the change told Boxing Scene on Monday, while downsizing from the historic 75,000 plus seater to the 6-year-old 22,000 seat soccer-centered BMO Stadium, formerly Bank of California Stadium, the promotion marketing the debut U.S. event of Saudi Arabia's Turkey Al-Sheikh has started significantly beefing up the card.
We know that over the weekend, His Excellency posted an image with the PBC's own Luis de Cubas Jr. and Lupe Valenzuela,
detailing that they would be working with Al Heyman and his PBC moving forward. I can only deduce that the big news Turkey Al-Sheikh was talking about was this big news: the sheer number of PBC fighters on what is supposed to be this card. In addition to Crawford's main event bout against WBA 154-pound champion Israel Madrimov, the card is scheduled to include the first 140-pound title defense by Mexico's WBA champion Isaac Pitbull Cruz, and the return of former world heavyweight champion Andy Ruiz, alongside the return of Leo Santa Cruz.
Last week, what I read is that Matchroom would be at the helm of promotion. But looking at this undercard littered with all of these PBC fighters, now I'm not so sure.
These are all PBC fighters. Rayo Valenzuela, Isaac Cruz, Leo Santa Cruz, Abner Mares, Andy Ruiz. They're all PBC guys.
You have to wonder what platform is going to carry this show.
I believe that those answers will arrive shortly. The kickoff press conference for the show is set to go down tomorrow, but looking at the undercard, you wonder, is this going to be carried by Amazon, DAZN, or both?
Initial reports seem to indicate that it's going to be Matchroom and DAZN carrying the show, but we'll see.
If that rumor checks out, if that rings true, that would have to mean that Al Heyman and his PBC are outsourcing a large chunk of their remaining stable to another platform, to another broadcaster. And in a very general sense, while that's a good thing for the fight fans and a good thing for the card, that's not necessarily a good thing for the PBC that you're outsourcing this many of your fighters, because what it would indicate is you can't accommodate them. You need somebody else to do that.
Why else would you send so many of your guys to DAZN? Didn't you just think a deal with Amazon?
I don't want to make any bold proclamations just yet, because those answers will come, though if it turns out that this many of the PBC's guys are going to be fighting on DAZN as opposed to Amazon, what's the future of Amazon in boxing? What's the future of that Amazon deal if you had to resort to outsourcing this many of your guys? This is intended to be your content on that platform.
Let's not jump to conclusions. We'll see where it ends up.
It's not a bad looking card. Andy Ruiz versus Dirrell Miller. You know that it was just yesterday that I entertained the possibility, not knowing who he was going to be fighting.
I entertain the possibility of this fight and how I wouldn't mind seeing it, because both Andy Ruiz and Dirrell Miller are mid-range to inside fighters.
They got the same sweet spot, and neither one of them is particularly mobile or agile. So if you put them in the ring with each other, it's fireworks. I will say Dirrell's coming off that knockout loss to Daniel Dubois, whereas Andy's coming off a win over Luis Ortiz. The problem is, this guy hasn't fought in something like 2 years.
That evens things out.
I don't know that you could call this a tune-up fight. I don't know that you could call this a gimme fight for Andy Ruiz. I get the sense that he's going to have to work for the victory. Isaac Cruz versus Jose Valenzuela at 140 pounds. I like that fight. I think it will yield a pleasing aesthetic. It's not by accident they have so many fighters of Mexican descent fighting on this show that's set to go down in LA, where there is a large Mexican-American contingent. They know what they're doing.
It's smart.
They've even got lukewarm Leo fighting Abner Mares for, what is it, the third time on the undercard? The one fight on the show I'm not excited about.
Leo already won the first 2 fights of what would be their trilogy.
And in a very general sense, Leo Santa Cruz has not been a fighter to be excited about for some years now, but so far so good. It's a good-looking card.
Mostly.
I like Crawford versus Madrimov as a main event, and I like most of the undercard fights.
Still some details that need clarification, but so far so good.